Hi everyone, Wolf Branch Homestead here with our goat friends, and they are hyper as can be. Something about this log, this one and the one by the branch, just makes them so hyper. We've got Yusuke and his dad Kuwabara and his mom Botan. We got out earlier today and browsed, but we're out for a quick one this evening just to see what the water looks like and the wild azaleas. Oh my gosh! What was that for? They came running, jumped on top of that log, and came after me. I thought he was gonna try to headbutt me. Oh, you are trying to play. You go play with her. You're a little bit too high up for me to play with. We're gonna see what everything looks like. Wild azalea still doesn't look to be blooming. I'm surprised. Lots of nice buds. And this bunny rabbit here, she's all hyper, putting her front feet together and running, bouncing. Yep. No blooms yet. Excuse me. But we've got a nice sunset walk here for a little bit. They were playing, having a blast. We'll make a short out of that where you can see some more of their playing. Kuwabara, you didn't wait on me. Hi, Yusuke. Trying to get Dad to wait so I could hold on to him. There we go. Good buddy. He lets me. Ooh, that time you didn't want to do it. He usually lets me hold on to his back while we're going down. I don't put a lot of pressure, but just to kind of stabilize myself. He does really good. I mean, because he's about waist height to me. So he usually walks right along with me, and he'll let me put my hand on his back so I can kind of stabilize myself when we walk. He kind of just offered to do that one day, and he's been doing it ever since. Yusuke loves playing with her, but she gets up there and she just headbutts. What are you doing, buddy? You'll see her. She slings her head, tries to push him off. He's jumping around. Did she headbutt you too hard? Well, get it. Little Yusuke is about to be a year old. It's hard to believe. We'd had her ever since she was a baby, so we knew matter-of-factly this was her first kid. I thought surely she'd be a good mom, had a real good personality, but you can't use that as a judge with a unproven mom. She kidded a little bit early, and I was wondering why it was so... Let's see if we can get the sun there. There we go. I was wondering why it was so quiet when I went out that morning. And I kept calling and calling. I heard a little bleat, and I was like, oh, there's a baby out there. People? Be careful. You're gonna bite my boot. Why you bite my boot? Don't bite my boot. No. Get her. Go get her. she was just looking like he was a little foreign alien or something, like he was a little outer space man. He was laying there and pretty fresh, but she wanted nothing to do with him. I knew one of the first steps I needed to do was make sure that he got some colostrum in him. So I tried to take him over to her. She kept reaching around like she was trying to headbutt him away. So I had to hold on to her and hold her head still. And he kept trying to suckle, but he couldn't get anything, and I realized something must be wrong because he wasn't latching on. So I tried on her bags, on her udders, and, well, just run me over. I tried to see if she had any milk, and she was bagged up, but she wasn't releasing it. I knew we had a concern then. So got him in the house, got him cleaned up and warm, and called the vet to see what we could do, since the powdered colostrum was probably about 45 minutes away. So they had some emergency colostrum up there, and we went up to the vet, got some for him. Luckily it was a good time, or it wasn't them being closed. So we got that colostrum, and they gave us the instructions and feeding him, taking care of him. Lots of feedings early on. Went and got the powdered colostrum, and then eventually moved on to the powdered formula. We kept trying her for days to see if she would. Of course, we got a plane going over. You can kind of see up here, there's the moon in between the trees. But we got him on his formula. Uh-oh, he's headbutting you. She said, come on, bring it. Look, she said, bring it. Go get her. Come here. Come here. Go get her. Go get her. Go get her. He said he doesn't want to play. You try to knock him off the log here. You want to come over here? Get it. Get it. Get it. Get it. Get it. Get it. He really, up until about a month ago, he's never really wanted to play too much, but everybody started playing nice with him, so he likes to play. Yusuke, get it. Get it. He doesn't like to play with me, though. He wants her to play, even though she slings her head around. She's eating. She doesn't want to come play yet. Oh, he's gonna go pester her. Uh-oh. Maybe not. You can tell whose twin that is, though. He takes after Mom so much. But it was very nerve-wracking to bottle raise him. I was so scared because I had to make sure he was warmed up and clean. That was one of the big things, was making sure he had a good body temperature. And I knew that that colostrum is so important if you can help it to get in their system, especially from Mom. But, you're gonna take me out, dude. Hello. Hello. Scrub, 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 scrub. Get it. Oh, get it. Get it. Get it. Get it. Get him. Get him. Get him. Get him. He only does this though when he's on the log. He doesn't come up and try to headbutt you. He's got some manners. He's a good boy. But the colostrum is so important for giving them the right start. So it's disappointing we couldn't get anything out of her. We kept trying her for days and days. And she ended up getting real feverish in her bags, and she started acting real off, so we had to get in touch with the vet and get some medicine for her. She perked up real well after that. And even though, you know, what? You can't eat the phone. You can't eat the phone. What are you doing? Blah, 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 blah. Blah, 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 blah. Blah, 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 blah. What are you doing? What are you doing? What are you doing? You're so silly. You're so silly. What are you doing? Blah, 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 blah. Blah, blah, blah. What are you doing? Oh, you're trying to waller on me, or are you trying to push and try to play? Are you trying to play? Are you trying to... What are you doing? What are you doing? Get it. Get it. But she didn't release that milk. And even though he was bottle raised, you keep distracting me. You're so cute. You're so cute. Come here. Yusuke. Yusuke. You still act like a baby though. He was so hyper. He loved jumping around on logs. That was his favorite thing, was over there by the firewood pile. My husband took the rounds of firewood and he cut those rounds up, then he stood them on their flat side, and we'd play obstacle course with him. He liked jumping all over the logs, or the firewood rounds rather. And bottle raising him, he got real close to people, real friendly. Haven't had a mean-spirited moment from him at all. He's a good boy. But no substitution for physical contact and observation of other goats in the herd. So when he got big enough, he was fixed and good to go. Then he had to start getting used to going with the group. And as much as I tried to point out things for him to eat and hand him stuff, he just wouldn't take to it. The way he figured out what to eat was following these two around, following his parents, and getting nose to nose with them while they were eating stuff. And they didn't really like that, but he was, you know, they would try to headbutt him away. But he kept on following them, and whatever they ate, he'd pester them so much being in their face, they'd walk off and he'd start eating on what they were eating. And so this is how he's learned what to feed on, what to browse on. And the other day, he finally got over there and was eating some clover. He saw Mom getting some, and it took him a while to start eating grass. Hi. But he figured out the grass, and then he figured out the clover. But all of that was watching them. So it's good that he had a herd to get in with. And again, even though that's her baby, that's their baby, they don't act like that. They just act like he's another herd member. There's no maternal instinct with him whatsoever to look out for him or anything. Pardon me. So they're mainly all just buddies, even though they're a family. They're all just buddies. And again, Dad and Yusuke are fixed because we didn't want to have any more. You know, we know how she is as a mom. We know she had issues, so we don't want to go through that again. And I know it could probably be salt, pepper, tail man. You know, some people probably would say, oh, he's a Nubian, 100% registration eligible. You know, why did you have him fixed when he could have been, you know, sold or something like that, or got other goats? But it's mainly because they already had developed a bond, and we didn't want to separate everybody. They'd already been around each other for so long that they were comfortable with one another, and we wanted to leave it that way so everybody could stay together. And Yusuke, obviously, not only that being his mother, but for them to stay together without anything, had him fixed as well. We're going to walk over here to where I found some bottles. I wasn't feeling too well when I found them, so I didn't get a good video of it. I was a little bit too hoarse at the time. But you guys are just right there. I'll set them aside. I've got to come back up with a bag and pick them up and do some identification. Stay tuned. I really do enjoy making the glass bottle identification videos. But this is what we found. I'm trying to keep them out of this area. We have some broken glass I've got to pick up. Right here, broken Clorox. Right here, bigger jar broken. I've got them standing where the jagged edges are down though. But we have 5 good whole jars here. So 2 of these, you can see the bottom, these are Duke's Mayo jars. These 2 right here. This one looks like a beer bottle, just based off that neck. Not sure what it would have been, but that's mainly what that style looks like to me. We've got some other jars over here. This one didn't have any markings on the bottom. But a lot of cleaning product, like a lot of Clorox bottles, a lot of soda bottles, occasional beer bottles. We've got these that are actually marked for mayo jars. So there's a lot of different things out here that we find, and been progressively finding more. All of this is such thick leaf litter, but as things degrade out here, as the weather kind of changes up everything, these, I've been over here, I walked past this exact area and missed them every time. And then finally, a few weeks ago, stumbled across these. The leaves changed up and you can just see them barely sticking up out of the ground. So I've got to come back. I've got these set up here where I can find them. We'll come back again. We've done one round already in this exact area, picking up broken glass and things like that, because we want not only to clean up, but also help where the animals don't get hurt. So we had a whole full reusable shopping bag full of glass to dispose of. And then we've got to come back out here and get some more. We also need to go in the branch. There's broken glass down there. And just, you know, not only for us and the goats, but for other wildlife, and just to keep that waterway clean. We've got to go clean up some glass down there too. One of those don't try at home thing, obviously, but I'm wearing really, really thick gloves to protect myself and using a thick bag to transport them, so I'm not, again, cutting myself when moving all of this around. But we've got some new jars for the collection. And I found a lot, and I know it's all just mainly a trash pile and stuff washing up from other areas. Just, that's the thing. I learned that at my grandmother's farm. There was a spot out in the field where there was just a hole, and every time it rained, it would wash something new up, and it was just a giant hole where they would bury their trash at. Bury jars, bury old pottery. So we'll likely find much, much more back here. And we'll continue to do videos on that. speaking of, did I just find another one? This is new. I'm trying to be very careful in case it snakes. Let me get a stick here. This one looks, I happened to see it as I was walking by. Pretty good shape. Looks like an A inside of an O, maybe. That's a different one. We'll have to add that to the pile. I just happen to see a little bit of dark coloration reflecting that shiny look. So there we go, finding another one out here. Pretty nice little jar. But again, it's just all over the place because somebody just disposed of it. And you can see, you know, a lot of this is like 50s and 60s range. And you can see how it doesn't break down. That's crazy. But I do look these up and try to see, you know, what they would have contained. And a lot of times what we've started to do is I enjoy collecting them, especially some crazier ones. But watch out, Yusuke. Here, come this way, buddy. Go back this way, Mom, Dad. There you go. But we've actually taken some up to the flea market booth with the identification info on them, you know, what year, what it might have contained, things like that. And actually had some sell there. And it's neat that somebody can appreciate those. And I've even before taken them and put a little bit of burlap around them or something, put some fake flowers in them where, yeah, they haven't broken down over all these years, but we can still repurpose them into something neat, get them cleaned up, and do something cool with them. He loves grabbing a little bit of that bay laurel. Makes his breath smell real good. Walk up the hill, we're going up a different way. I'm looking around to see if we see anything on the way up. There's basically, I've kind of found that there's very specific areas where the clusters of bottles and trash are. Now, a lot of times you end up seeing them around the base of really big trees like this, ones that would have been around a lot longer than most of this. That one being, I think, a white oak, looking at the bark. The oaks are actually oak and hickory. Look to be some of the biggest, oldest trees out here. That red maple that went down was pretty old. That oak back there. I think we've got a hickory right there and right there. So you can see there's a lot of really nice, bigger trees down here. Which is important because you've got habitat for a lot of different critters and birds, and even the rotten, still standing stuff. You've got woodpeckers going to live in them. A lot of variety out here, a lot of birds. There's some that I never saw living in the city, and there's some that living in the city I don't see out here. We hardly get robins. We've got blue jays, but they don't want to come around. They'll stay up in the trees. You can hear them vocalize and see them fly over, but they just don't like to come down and visit. Yeah, that's right. They don't, do they? We don't, every so often we'll get a little mourning dove. Usually it's either one or two. Have never seen a mockingbird out here. My grandmother's farm, they used to live out there, hang all over the place and be in all the trees. That and her purple martins she had. Keeping my eyes down, just looking as we get on the trail, make sure we have no snakes or anything. Getting about that time for rattlesnakes, copperheads. Yusuke, don't go to the hummingbird garden over there, buddy. Come on, Yusuke. Yusuke. He's like, no, I'm gonna sit back here and eat. Tell him, come on. But we still do get a lot of other really neat animals. Very thankful to have a really nice population of white-tailed deer. We've seen a nice big group of them. I think it was end of last year. Over half a dozen, probably 8 or 9 of them. They went across the road in a big group, or rather along the trail. And there are fox, coyote, we've got gray squirrel, we've got the little flying squirrels, raccoon, possum. There's beaver around here, and I think it was unfortunate that it had been hit by a car. It was on the side of the road, but it looked like a, what are they called? A badger, I think it was. Looking for any nice pieces of quartz. Right down here is where we gotta be careful for snakes. This is where we end up finding the most eggs out on the ground from them, and see some in the trail. Speaking of big older trees, one of my favorites is probably the parent to every poplar out here. It's gotten these scratch marks up it over time. This right here is a really big poplar tree, and I love this one because it's right here on the side of the trail. We've done an article on that tulip poplar or yellow poplar. I say tulip poplar because the flowers from it, when they're blooming, look like little tulips. But that yellow poplar, a lot of people use the old growth and could use the lumber from it. You have to be careful. A lot of the projects you make with poplar like that need to be indoors or undercover. Some people do burn it, but one of the things that I like is, if you're ever clearing out a little trail, the saplings of those poplar trees are real good walking sticks. They dry pretty sturdy and lightweight. And one of these days, we'll make a video about making a walking stick from it. I've been scouting out some while we walk, trying to find some good areas. Oh my gosh! Okay. Alright then. Everybody was on the move. But the good thing about that poplar is it and the red maple, I can't remember the term for it, but when you cut them, the stump will actually regrow. And there are a lot of people that will cut trees like that from a real big healthy stump, and then it'll regrow and they'll harvest that again and again, and it regenerates itself. Like this right here, this red maple, we could tell that it was getting rotten. It was getting kind of dangerous, and part of it already fell, so we ended up cutting this one. But as you can see, it's actually sprouted back up from itself. The inside was not good of this, but we did use part of that for firewood. And you can see that one down there, what we've been to by the branch. It's regrowing. Got a vulture flying back there. We've got a black vulture family, a pair of them that seem to be nesting in the old barn, hoping that they'll have some little chicks this year. We get black vulture and turkey vulture here. And it's funny, there's different names. Sometimes you'll hear people call them chicken hawks, even though they're not a hawk. But more, you'll hear people just call them buzzards. And even though it is just a vulture, it's not a hawk, you'll still see chickens respond to it in the same way. They'll see that shadow flying over, and there's that immediate caution. They'll tilt their head to the side and do that little growl they do. And even though it's not a hawk, they'll still watch it real close. But the sun's almost behind the tree line there. It'll be getting pretty dark, so it's time to finish up the rest of the chores. Our goats have had a nice browse time. Been recording for over 30 minutes, but they've been out for about 45 now. So we did get another good long walk in. Letting them fill up before bed, before we get under this cold snap again, or we get down below freezing. A few days ago, we were close to 80 degrees. It actually got over 80 degrees for a little bit Fahrenheit, and then here we are, we're about to have 29 Fahrenheit as a low. All this stuff that was starting to bud out and bloom is going to have a hard time, unfortunately. But for us, this is common. We can get a cold snap like that into mid-April, and about mid-April, excuse me, about mid-April everybody starts to plant. Some people already are, but it's just timing-wise for this area, it needs to be about mid-April. The only other thing is, and we've had this issue planting heirloom corn in the past, we haven't planted because we just keep getting hit so hard with the deer and the weather. But every time we grow heirloom corn, we have some swapped out weather. We'll have a year of just feels like a constant drought, no rain, everything's struggling. Then one year it can't stop raining, and we'll have all these bad storms come through, sometimes tropical storms. We had one come through and it blew almost the whole field over. And then when everything went over, it was growing real nice and tall, out of reach of the deer, but when it blew everything over between them, raccoons, and rabbits, everything basically got lost. We do pretty good with okra. A lot of stuff won't touch that. I think we've grown the Clemson spineless okra and purple hull peas. Grown quite a few things. Corn's always my favorite. I love heirloom corn. There's quite a few good varieties. One I really love for this area is called Hastings Prolific. Real old variety. Plant grows real tall. Real nice sized ears. We've grown one called Bloody Butcher. That one's another pretty variety. And haven't grown the I think it's Carl's Glass Gem. We haven't grown it, but we've had some ears of it before that someone gave us, and they were just beautiful. There's a lot of really interesting heirloom varieties. If you like to garden, think outside the box. Think outside of what you get at the store or those little packets. Look up and see if there's any heirloom varieties for your area, because then you can take those heirlooms and save your seeds and regrow them. One of my favorite things to actually grow is birdhouse gourds. We grew some one year, and I took our gourds that we grew, and outside the old shop I cleaned those out and tried to save the seeds, and some of them fell down on the ground and I couldn't find them when I was cleaning those gourds out to make things with. I sold some of the plain gourds, and I sold some that were already made into little birdhouses. And wouldn't you know, for the next probably 3 or 4 years where I dropped those seeds at, plants would always come back and grow us some more gourds. Heirlooms are pretty fun to grow, and you learn about varieties that are so different from what you get in the store. There are some very gorgeous tomato varieties, and even carrots too. We grew one some years back. I think they were called Cosmic Purple, and nothing beat that. Getting those carrots up and cleaning them off and eating them. But we're going to call them up. They already are looking like, hey, we must be going back. We'll grab something and see if Yusuke will. He's been doing really good about his practice with recall. Yusuke, here. He said, oh, now I'm not. Yusuke, here. Yusuke, here. Good boy. There you go. He was doing really well until he had to go through a field of food. And it's also because he knows that it wasn't a grain snack. If he knew I had grain on me, he'd be doing everything he could to just follow me around and get it. But we thank you so much for walking with us. Quite a few of you have been so kind to say you enjoy the walk and talk and ramble. We just talk as we go. No kind of script or plan, really. I'm just glad that you enjoy it, learning a little bit as we go. Hopefully you learn some new stuff each time, like learning about those heirloom crops. I'm telling you, if you're down in the southeastern United States, try some Hastings prolific corn. It's amazing. It grows super tall, grows super well. There's a farm here in Alabama, Rayleigh Farm and Field, and they grow that. Mr. Rayleigh grows lots of heirloom varieties of corn, and they sell different ones on their website. And growing that and sharing it with the world helps preserve those varieties. So definitely check them out. He has lots of different varieties of corn, a lot of which we've grown. But it's time to call it an evening, get these guys put up, finish the rest of the chores. We haven't seen our little friend Otter, the wild rabbit, in a while, but we keep our eyes out. Otter's probably thinking, oh, we can't get rid of this cold weather. I gotta stay hunkered down. But we hope you enjoyed. Until next time, in our next live streamer video, which, by the way, stay tuned. Our hummingbird's still here. He showed up 3 days ago for our first hummingbird of the year. So stay tuned for those live streams. Hope you can catch one live with us and see him come up. But until one of those next live streams or videos, we hope you all take care. Yusuke, you want to say bye? Bye. She said no thanks. What about you? Want to say bye? I guess that works. Take care.